Don't try to sneak into your room like that. I know what you've got behind your back. Records. More new records.
We are at Zinc Media in Portland, Oregon. So what is Zinc Media? Let's go inside and find out. Zinc Media is the home of Discogs, which everybody watching this video knows. And we're going to be going inside now, and we're going to interview the founder. There's my friend Malachi, stealing camera time.
Yes.
And we're going to interview Kevin Lewandowski, who is the founder of Discogs. And this is Discogs world headquarters. Ping pong table. Lockers, records. This is the brains of the operation. And what an operation they have built. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, so we are here in Portland, Oregon at Discogs with Kevin Lewandowski, who is the founder of Discogs. And we met first at the Utrecht Record Fair in 2000, and what was that?
I want to say it's about 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
So that would be 15.
And I think at that point you had started telling me something about how this all happened. But let's go back. This is an accident?
Yeah, basically an accident. So Discogs, let's see. So it started from my interest in music, and I've also been a software developer for since I was a teenager. Got into computers when I was about 15. And in university, I had a friend who was a DJ spinning techno and house music, and I got interested in that and wanted to become a DJ. So after university, I bought my turntables and started buying records and collecting records.
To DJ or for listening?
For DJing. Yeah. For DJing. Yeah. Today, I'm also into listening, right. But I'm still into DJing.
Yeah. With real records, you don't do the fake record thing?
No. I have a digital turntable, but I've never really figured out how to use it. I still prefer the vinyl.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. So I was into software programming and collecting records, and I was active on internet mailing lists, and people were talking about what's this release, what's that release, things like that, and kind of based on what was happening with other open source projects like the Linux operating system and other websites like Slashdot and a thing called Open Directory Project. These were websites that had taken open source ideas to gather information from people all over the world to create something. And people were talking about an idea to build something called TrainSpotter, which would be the internet music database. It never really got off the ground, and I had toyed with the idea of doing it myself for on and off for a couple of years.
Because there was no internet music database at that point in time,
right?
At all.
There were lots of fan sites. They were all spread out, like a site about these 4 artists or these couple labels, things like that. Yeah, so I spent about 6 months building the software, submitting part of my own collection, about 200 records, making sure it all worked, and then announced it to some of these music mailing lists. And after that, a couple people started contributing more information. A couple months later.
What did you think would come out of this? What was your like your most fervent hope for what would happen? Not this. You didn't see this.
No, not this. Yeah, the only thing that was almost 20 years ago. Yeah. The only thing I remember is that I said, I'm only going to keep working on this if people are using it, because I'd been involved in other projects and things at the company I was working for that didn't really go anywhere. So I put 6 months into this, and I said, if people use it, then I'll keep building it. I guess I thought that someday it could become something big, and like the goal was to gather all the information about all music out there and compile it into one database that music fanatics can use and explore, things like that.
And there wasn't any, at that point there wasn't any there wasn't any way to turn this into a money-making operation.
No, it was purely a hobby and a passion project.
So you invested your sweat equity just in the hopes of building something good without any remuneration of any kind.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
so cool.
pretty much. Yeah.
That's better. It's a better story. I got into this to make a lot of money.
No, it was for the love of music and collecting and just wanting to build something that lots of people could contribute to and use.
So then what happened?
Then let's see. So it started getting bigger and bigger. The company I was working for offered voluntary severance about 2 years ago. 2 years later, after that, so I could get about 6 months' pay to quit.
Yeah.
And that was my opportunity.
Was that a software-based company?
Yeah, it was Intel here in Hillsborough.
Small outfit.
Yeah, small company. Yeah, it's different going from a very large company to a one-person operation now.
Right.
Now an 80-person operation.
Yeah. And so things. When did you start seeing that things were this was going to take off in some way?
I guess before I quit Intel, because the traffic on the site was like it was going up, like doubling every month. I wasn't making any money from it, but
how do you monetize a situation like that?
So back then it was through affiliate links. So if you were looking at a release page, there would be a couple links on the side to click here to buy this at eBay or Amazon, and a couple other music shops.
Right.
But
you didn't start out as a buy and sell operation. You started out as just a database for people to find. It was an aggregation of music, of information about music. So
right.
How did it turn over to something else?
So the marketplace didn't come along until 2005, and people were asking for it basically because we were just a catalog. I would get questions quite often from people saying, "How do I add this to my cart?" Which is funny because we're not a shop. There is no shopping cart.
You didn't have a cart.
Yeah, there is no cart. Yeah, like I want to buy this, but where's the buy button? People were saying that, and users were saying we want to sell records on the site, and we want to buy on the site because people were kind of hacking the collection function to put up lists of things for sale, and for example, using the rating system to indicate price, like 5 out of 5 means $10, 4 out of 5 means $8, all kind of hacky things.
Right. So it had nothing to do with you. That was just them getting into your software, or getting into your back end.
They were just using the system with the functions that were available.
And it's basically a user-based information system, or do you control now? Do you put content up yourself?
We don't put any content up. It's still 100% user built.
And is there any way to monitor accuracy? Or?
Yeah, we have systems in place for that. It's not 100%, but for the most part, the community looks after the data.
It seems like a pretty friendly community. I don't sense a lot of controversy on there, where people. Do I miss something? Am I missing something?
I think you should start contributing. I mean, as with anything where people are very passionate and committed to something, there are some blow-ups and arguments that happen from time to time.
And if people buy something and then are happy with it, you can't get involved in.
We try to
mediating disputes.
We try to help them out, like suggest a refund, a partial refund, and things like that. But basically, it's out of our control.
I've never bought a bad record.
Really?
No, I've always gotten good records. Maybe they recognize my name and they don't want to sell me. I don't know. Maybe I'm being
VIP customer.
Self-centered. I don't know. No, I've always had good, and stuff shows up quickly. So that at what point did you put up your marketplace?
2005.
So how many people are on?
So there's about 4.5 million registered users. I'm not sure how many are active. And we get in the millions of visitors per month.
And it seems like your database gets more and more sophisticated as time passes. You're able to measure, the metrics become more and more sophisticated about what people are doing and what they're buying, what they're selling. I mean, it's tremendous.
Yeah, it's something we're trying to focus on more, like get information out of the database about what is happening, what are people looking at, what are people buying.
So today, what funds Discogs?
The marketplace, basically.
You get a percentage of...
we charge an 8% commission on every sale that happens through the site.
So are you doing well?
Yeah, we're doing well.
Yeah. You have like you're making a nice amount of money on this. Is it good? Yeah,
we're supporting 80 people. Have almost 80 people full-time jobs.
No, but most of them are living in the basement here. So no, that's fantastic. 80 people work here.
Maybe 78.
And you're the boss.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you'd be in that position?
No, I never thought I'd be in that position.
Are you a good boss?
think so.
Yeah, is he a good boss?
I've had a lot of help. We have a fantastic team right now, and I've worked with a business coach for several years to help me get the business more structured and hire the right people, things like that, and that definitely made a big impact.
And are all the people who work here, are they music fanatics, or are they just tech people?
They're pretty much all music fanatics. It's one of the things we screen for when we interview.
And is owning a turntable a prerequisite for working here, that you can't, if someone comes to, gives you their resume and you don't see a turntable on it, you go, I'm sorry, you can't work for me?
It should be. It's not. There's a few people that don't have turntables. But
they'll learn.
Yeah, we'll convert them.
Great. So you have 80 people, and they're here every day?
No, most people, in this office in Portland, I think there's about 50 people in Portland, maybe 40. I'd say about half of them come into the office about half the time.
And they can work at home?
And work at home. And we have several people around the U.S. that work from home, 3 in Japan that work from home, and we have an office in Amsterdam with almost 20 people.
Wow. Why is it in Amsterdam?
We got started in Amsterdam with one employee who was Dutch, and so obviously spoke Dutch, English, and she also did German and French. So she was able to do customer support and with the multilingual support, helping customers in other countries, and it made a big impact.
Yeah.
So we started focusing more on that.
And do you have a breakdown of where your customers or where you're contributing? What do you call the people that are part of your network? Well, contributors, customers?
There's a couple types. Users or customers, but some are more contributors who add information to the database. Some are buyers, some are sellers, some are just casual browsers. They may be searching something in Google, come to Discogs, hit one page, and go away.
So, Malachi, why don't you talk about your experience when we hired you to find every recording that the recording engineer Peter McGrath.
Should I come on camera?
Sure, come on camera. This is interesting because Peter McGrath is a guy that works for Wilson Audio Specialties, and he's their international salesperson, and he's also a very well-known recording engineer, classical music recordings for Harmonia Mundi and other labels. And so one of the customers who bought one of these big Wilson Chronosonic Wham Grand Slam speakers, $750,000 a pair of speakers, decided he heard some of Peter's recordings that he had brought in on a hard drive, and he wanted to own the vinyl. He wanted every one of Peter McGrath's recordings. So how do you find all of those? So we hired Malachi to go onto Discogs and talk about your experience.
All right. So basically, what I do is I search Peter McGrath on Discogs, and it comes up, and I go through all the credits. So anything he engineered would be under technical credits, or anything he produced would be under production, whatever. So I basically went under that, and I could find all the versions of things and just buy it, no problem. So basically what happens is that someone paid me to do it for their customer.
We paid him, for doing it, and then we gave him a credit card we gave you the credit card, right?
I just got a password to the account, so
okay,
yeah.
That's good enough. And you were able to buy how many records do you?
I probably bought like 20 to 30 records for this guy, like records and CDs.
What a fantastic thing, a convenience for somebody who wants something to go shopping like that online.
Yeah, I mean now it's at the point where you can get any record you want, basically, if you're willing to pay the price.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was a good experience, right?
Yeah, I mean I use Discogs like several times a day, every day, to just check prices, check mastering credits, pressing credits. If something's going for ridiculous prices, I check that.
His mother has to remind him to brush his teeth, but not to check Discogs. That's what it's like.
That's not entirely true, but pretty close.
Yeah. So you don't talk about the finances of this company, about what your gross income is. Is that public knowledge, or?
It's kind of. I think it's around 15 million.
Really?
Wow.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Wow.
Can I get a cut of that?
You want to come work?
No, you never can tell. That's great. Anything else that you would like to tell people about what's the future of Discogs? Just vinyl's a fad and it's going to go away. We know that. But in the meantime,
collectors won't go away.
It's not going away. That's such a nonsensical thing. It's growing. Your thing continues to grow. It's not leveled off.
We're growing. We're not growing as fast as we were. Like 2010 to 2015 or so, we were growing a lot.
Right.
We're still growing, but it is slowed down, and that's something we had thought would happen just because of the amount of like reissues coming and like the fad effect or the interest in vinyl.
But what can we do to maintain that? I think it's important to maintain.
Well, I think the most important thing with Discogs is that this information is preserved forever, like a library for all music fanatics that'll be around for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So that's the #1 mission, and for it to stay free and open for everybody.
Right. I like the fact that your guy Jeffrey is coming to the audiophile events and learning about the audiophile community, because I think that's a part of the whole thing that a lot of people at Discogs were not familiar with, and it's a small part of the market. It's true, but it's important because it partly drives the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Probably becoming a bigger part of the market.
Yes, and we also learn about the other part of the market, because I remember the first time I met Jeffrey, we were doing an event. I may have been making vinyl, the first making vinyl, and I was talking about how we need to know a record should tell us who mastered it, or whether it's an analog source or a digital source, and he was saying, or somebody else on the panel saying, you're really getting into the weeds there. I said, no, that's like saying, what's in the food I eat? Well, I don't really care. That's getting into the weeds. No, I want to know what's there.
It's important.
It's important, and more people are learning that. So it's good. So all the communities involved in vinyl, it's a varied community. They all get together, and it becomes a bigger thing, and it's good for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you see happening in the next 5 years? Just continued slow growth and interest, and younger people getting on board, or is he an outlier?
I'm probably
I hope he's not an outlier.
I don't think he's an outlier from what I see.
Yeah.
I'm probably like the minimum, like all the way at the bottom, but still like not a complete outlier.
I have 2 other young people that want to write for me about what I do, and both of them are high school kids, and they got into sound and audio through vinyl, not from digital, from vinyl, and that sparked their interest in this, and it's terrific to have young people that want to get involved in this.
Yeah,
it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think with Discogs,
do you see it expanding to any other area? I mean, you didn't start out. You started as a database. You became a marketplace. Is there any place else you think that you can go?
Yeah, there's some. We can do more with our data, like provide more information about what's happening, like trends, and like mining our data. We've never done a whole lot with that. I think that's something we can focus on down the road. Immediately, we've got some efforts underway to make our marketplace easier to use.
Yeah.
Like the checkout process, things like that.
Do you think that SoundScan Nielsen's reported numbers of new vinyl sales are ridiculously undersold?
I don't know.
Or you don't want to comment on that?
I don't even look at it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, because I talk to the pressing plants on how many records are being pressed, even domestically, and the number that are being pressed are so far greater than the number that are being sold. It's not just, okay, some records are going to sit on a shelf. It's like there's something missing here. Mm-hmm. Something's not right. And how do you see your competition with eBay? You're offering a much better service for records than eBay at this point.
Yeah, the general message that we've gotten from sellers over the past 10 years is that they prefer Discogs to eBay just because it's easier to list.
Yeah.
One of the things that makes Discogs unique is we let people catalog the exact version of the release you have. Like Dark Side of the Moon, there's like 800 or 900 different versions.
That's right.
And some people might think it's crazy to track every single version, but that's what our users want, and it helps out with the marketplace because people know exactly what they're getting, and some people may be wanting to buy a specific version.
I mean, the way I thought I might be able to interface is I think there's a lot of sellers who don't know the inner groove codes of what pressing and they should know that. Like a lot of times they say this is a first pressing of something, but it's not really a first pressing. They don't know. They're not trying to dupe anybody, but they don't know what a first. They go by the label. It's this pink label, and that doesn't really tell you.
Or has this sticker on the jacket.
Right.
It
doesn't really tell you what's going on. They should know how to read the inner codes. They should know, like if you want Buffalo Springfield again, for example. Yeah, the original ACO label is on the original, but it's also on another version that's an original because it came out at the same time that Columbia Records made for ACO. That's horrible. Sounds terrible. It's useless. people should know those distinctions if they're buying.
I don't know how to read those codes. I should.
You should.
I should.
Okay, but maybe that's some way I could get involved.
Well,
for a large price. No. Okay, small price. I mean,
well, we can teach you the codes. At least quite a few of them.
He knows too much. Anyway, so I happen to be in Portland, so I'm really glad I stopped by, and this was really entertaining and interesting, and I'm sure that our viewers will enjoy your story, because it's a great story. It's one of many great stories involving music and passion with music that's turned into a career, a business, and a support for 80 people. It's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for coming. This was fun.
Thanks.
So there are a lot of things on Discogs that you hear about these things, like this record sold for this crazy amount of money, and then there are some things that are actually scams. Like I remember reading this crazy story about this guy in Florida who sold a record to himself, or at least that's what we think it is.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate more on that story?
Let's see. This was a couple years ago. I'm trying to.
I can't remember the dude's name.
I was actually just talking about it with Jeffrey a couple weeks last week. He claimed he was, I think, the illegitimate son of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Had put out a record. He bought it himself. He basically figured out how to hack the top sellers list. So he bought it from himself.
For like $40,000 or some crazy number.
I don't remember the price, but the fee he paid was high enough to get him into that top list, to make him, I don't know if he ended up being number one or whatever, but he bought the record himself to put him in that list, to generate a lot of publicity for that record. And
even though he's like, his career's dead by now because no one's heard of him.
Yeah, he's a publicity guy. I think we found out he had done something a couple years ago, like painted his skin dark or something to claim he was Jimi Hendrix's son.
Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. That was insane. So when things like that happen, how you deal with it as a company, like, do you terminate the users, or like do you say, hey, the sale is fake, or with things like that, and that specific one, I think we canceled the sale, which removed it from the list, because buying from yourself, I mean, I guess it's not technically illegal, but to game the system and get into our top sales list, yeah, that's not okay. And like, people were publishing really long stories about, like, there's a really long story in Spin about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think NPR did something about it also. I can't think of anything else that's come up with like that. There probably has.
Yeah, but it's just been under the radar since it's not as crazy as this dude.
Yeah.
So are there things that raise red flags to you about the sale and the legitimacy of the sale, and things like that?
Let's see. I mean, we have systems in place to detect fraud.
Yeah.
Looking for little cute clues or correlations that might indicate something's not okay.
So then
about listings or sales.
So the systems then give you an alert and basically tell you to check into all of this.
Yeah, to go investigate it, and our support team will go check it out.
So it seems like records on Discogs keep getting more and more expensive. Like the highest, like the most expensive records on Discogs keep getting more and more and more and more expensive. Who do you think is paying for that?
I don't know. Collectors. You must be a passionate collector in order to pay that much money for something.
Who do you think your core audience is? Do you think it's people who are like, middle-aged loners sitting in their basement all day, or do you think it's more like people in their 20s and 30s using the database, or do you think it's everyone?
It's everybody. It's everybody. It's the basement dwellers. It's the middle-aged people. It's older people. Yeah.
So, how close do you think you are to having every record in the world in your database? Like, what percentage do you think of the records, all the records ever made, do you think you have in your database?
So we don't really know. We have an estimate. This is a good question. Something that came up in our forums a couple years ago. Users were just wondering, how complete are we?
Yeah.
And a couple people had made the estimate that there might be 10 million records out there. Sorry, not 10 million, 100 million.
100
million different recordings out there.
And you've got like 50 million?
Today we have 11 million.
11 million. Okay.
Yeah, so if we go by that number, we're 11% done.
Okay.
But there's no way to know.
Yeah, there's no way to know because you don't know what's out there and what might have all gone in the garbage or something. So what would you like to say to the viewers?
Yeah, just I want to thank the community and all the users who have helped build Discogs, because it's not just what happens here. It's a massive community effort. I think we've got around 300,000 people who have submitted one piece of information. So wow. We would not be here today and have 11 million releases if we didn't have the contributions of all of those people out there.
Well, thank you for your time, and it was nice meeting you and interviewing you. And I look forward to seeing how Discogs grows. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you
for the interview.
Great meeting you.
Nice to meet you.